Teacup, Tempest by Wigworm. Kakashi watched Naruto as they traveled down the road. He was still trying to reconcile his girlfriend, the woman he'd fallen in love with Uzumaki Naruto. He was having a hard time of it. He also had to rethink almost everything he thought he'd known about Maki because Naruto hadn't ever been on Buyu. She'd been at the academy, but she had been raped, and that was hard to see past. He could understand why she'd done what she'd done as well. Though there were mannerisms that were the same, Naruto was so much more childish than Maki was. Although Kakashi supposed that Naruto was able to get all her childish impulses out when she was being Naruto, leaving her more mature thoughts and acts for Maki. When he sensed the two ninja in the battle ahead, he knew he couldn't interfere, and for the first time in his life, worried. It wasn't like the worry he'd felt for Maki when she'd had that bad day months ago. This was so much stronger. He was sending the love of his life in a battle without telling her. He couldn't even warn her, because if he did, he'd warn the ninja laying in wait. Naruto wasn't subtle enough to catch anything but an outright warning. He paused and thought about that. Naruto wasn't subtle enough, but maybe Maki was. Kakashi had seen a marked difference in how Naruto reacted to things as opposed to how Maki reacted. It had seemed to him, when the behaviors were coming from two different people, that Naruto was impulsive enough to be dangerous, and Maki took the time to consider things. Now that he knew that both of them are one person, Kakashi could see that Naruto purposefully refused to let herself think when she was being her physical age. He could see the fight in her when she just acted when she wanted to pause and think about it. He wasn't surprised by how the fight turned out. Sasuke did his part, and Naruto did hers, whilst Sakura cowered in front of the client kunai in hand. He panicked for several moments when he realized that Naruto had been cut by the poisonous blade and tried to hide it. He marginally succeeded. Maki, knew him well enough to see past his nonchalance. It pained him that she didn't mock him a little, because Maki would have. He understood, though. No one else on the team knew that Naruto is a girl. Never mind the fact that she was involved with him. He'd seen Naruto cause injury to herself before, but it still kind of shocked him when she sliced open the back of her hand to bleed out the poison. The worry came back, and he had to question. Was he worried because she was one of his soldiers, or was he worried because she was his very serious girlfriend? And if it was the latter, how was he going to continue to be her commanding officer? When they managed to get back on the road to Wave, Sakura spoke up. Kakashi-sensei, is your wife okay with you leaving like this all the time for missions? Kakashi had to hold back a snort. His wife was on the mission with him, so he didn't really think that she minded. He supposed that Sakura was curious about adult shinobi relationships, though, and what she might have to expect later in her life. No, Maki goes on missions as well. We both understand the jobs we have.
You're married, Kakashi-san?
The bridge builder eyed him.
That's super great. I have a wife myself.
Nah, he shook his head a little. This wasn't a discussion that he wanted to have outside the walls of Konoha. He may have gotten a little paranoid since everyone had started to ask him about Iwa and how his enemies would take to him having a family. He much preferred dealing with professionals. A professional understood the boundaries of their job. A professional didn't go after an enemy's family unless paid to. Kakashi was fairly sure that most shinobi in the last generation or two had forgotten or never learnt that lesson. Nothing was personal, unless the client made it personal.
Do you have any children, Kakashi-san?
Kazuna asked brightly, shifting the pack on his shoulders. Kakashi briefly considered having Sakura take the pack for him to carry, both to build muscle and get in better shape, but it would be a hazard if they ran into any more shinobi. And they would run into more. A son? Kakashi murmured. He wouldn't mention a name or an age, or even his description. The more isolated Hito was from his world, the better. And then Sakura had to open her civilian mouth again. Hito-chan is just 2, and he's so adorable. Kakashi felt his heart clenched, and a look out of the corner of his eye revealed Naruto was just as angry with the first-gen shinobi as he was. It was a surprise to everyone when Sasuke scowled at the girl. Kakashi hadn't thought that he noticed much about his team or what the girl sprouted off. Shinobi don't speak about personal matters when engaged in a mission, nor do shinobi give out pertinent information about teammates. Shut up, Haruno-san. Sakura visibly wilted at Sasuke's harsh words, and Kakashi resolved to reward the boy somehow for getting her to be quiet. He tried it himself, but he wasn't allowed to purposefully injure his troops, so his warnings and lessons never seemed to get through to the first generation Kunoichi on his team. Tazuna's eye glanced around at the other three shinobi walking with him, and as loud and boisterous as he was, he saw the anger in all of them. He never mentioned Kakashi's family again. Kakashi woke to see Maki leaning over him. "Kakashi?" she whispered in the soft light from the moon coming in the window. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got the ever-living crap beat out of me." "Aw, poor baby." She smiled at him and leaned down to kiss his nose. She paused halfway down, and Kakashi suddenly remembered that Maki was Naruto, and Naruto was on his Genin team. Naruto stiffened and backed away, pursing her lips. Kakashi swallowed and licked his lips. "Right. Naruto..." "Kakashi?" She interrupted him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "If you're talking to the woman you're raising a child with, my name is Maki. I'm only waiting out my time as Naruto until I can be me. Be Maki." Her eyes were tired, and Kakashi wondered if she'd been getting as much sleep as she should have been. "Maki is who I am, who I want to be." He paused for a moment longer and then smiled up at her, bringing a weary hand to his face and pulling down the mask. "Maki," he murmured, "thank you for protecting the others. I know that you have 2 more years of practical experience on them." Maki smiled brilliantly. "You're welcome, Kakashi. I wasn't about to let my team down." She helped him sit up, and he scratched his cheek in a yawn. "How long have I been out?" "A few hours. I got us to Tazuna's house as quickly as possible after you passed out and made sure that no one bothered you. We all ate, and it's my watch right now. I have a perimeter of Kagebunshin around the property and scattered throughout the house." "Good work, Maki." Maki beamed at him, and he had to resist an urge to draw her down for a kiss. Now that he'd kissed her once and knew that she didn't mind, it was sometimes hard to remember that she was too young, that he had to wait. "Okay." She straightened herself out a little. "So that boy, the one in the hunter's outfit, obviously not a hunter." She rolled her eyes. "He took the body. I'm guessing apprentice because he's too old to be Zabuza's son." "He's not in the bingo book." Kakashi nodded, agreeing with her. "Anything else out of the ordinary that you noticed?" The rabbit that I threw that kunai at?" Kakashi nodded, and she blushed, making an embarrassed noise. "Personal pet cum replacement object is my guess. Zabuza's heart is softer than expected, too, if he's taken on an apprentice and lets him have a pet." "Maybe it doubles as emergency rations," Kakashi said with sarcasm, and Maki smirked. "Always a possibility." The blonde girl sniffed and leaned against the wall. "They aren't ready," she murmured. He agreed with her, but let her continue speaking. "I could go up against the boy. We're about even. With my shadow clones and taijutsu, I might even have an upper hand. Sasuke is strong, but easily distracted by flashy stuff. He still wants to activate his Sharingan, too." She paused and then smacked Kakashi's arm. "Thanks, by the way. Now that he knows you have a Sharingan, now that he's seen it, he's been moping about not being good enough to have his own active. He even managed to speak up enough to complain that you aren't Uchiha." Kakashi rolled his eyes. "Got it. I'll make sure to spend some extra time with the boy." It felt weird to be speaking to Maki about her age mates and teammates when she seemed so much older than them. It was understandable given what Maki had been through, but still strange. He figured that it would get easier to get used to the more it happened. "Not too much," she said quietly, staring at him. "I don't want Hito to feel like you've forgotten or replaced him." She was also speaking for herself, and Kakashi reached out, taking one of her hands in his. "I won't leave you or Hito, Maki. I love you two far too much for that." Maki smiled, and Kakashi stroked his thumb over the back of her hand. "You needn't worry about me getting lost in the awe of the last Uchiha." She brought his hand up to her lips and kissed the back of his hand gently. "I know," she told him. "I understand you all too well, Kakashi." And she really did. She understood that he loved her, but was wary of her age. She understood that he loved Hito and wanted to claim the boy as his own. She also understood that he was shinobi and had duties to perform. She was perfect for him, and he wouldn't ever let her go. Suddenly, Kakashi realized that no matter what happened, there wouldn't be anyone else for him. It would be Maki or no one. He could and would wait for her. Now, did he wait until they got back to Konoha to propose, or should he spontaneously ask now? Now was not a good time, he thought to himself. He was injured, and she was on watch. And the ring was in Konoha anyway, so he'd wait, and when they got back, he'd ask. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "Are you missing Hito a lot?" "Amazingly enough, only a little. I know that he'll be there when I get back, and that is a great comfort." Maki smiled. "Then again, with the Hokage as his babysitter, I have no worries at all about his safety and well-being. And Gigi likes me." "He does," Kakashi grinned. "And he really likes Hito, too." He chuckled lightly. "You do not know just how freaked out I was when I saw Hito on Hokage-sama's knee that first time." Maki snorted. "I can imagine. Seeing as you're dating me, I would think that seeing the boy you see as your son playing with the Hokage could be very nerve-wracking. I mean, just how close to the Hokage is the girl you're dating?" She laughed quietly. "But you don't have to worry about Gigi. He's just looking out for me." Kakashi stroked her hand again, nodding. Hokage was looking out for her, and Kakashi knew that if he hadn't have given his sworn word that he wouldn't touch her until she was 16, Kakashi wouldn't have been able to leave that room alive. It was good to know that she would be protected if he ended up dead. He was well past his life expectancy, so he was on borrowed time and he wasn't going to waste any more of it.